Well, and you took his leg from him in October, but I mean in September, but it hadn't made air just yet. But when it does, and fans realize what's going on, um, Dusty's looking for revenge, and it happens on the 12th. It airs on the 12th on Worldwide a week later. Let's take a listen here.
An exciting program, but we've got to slow it down a second because you've got some news for us. We all have some news.
Well, David, last week we talked about the NWA releasing the tapes of the incident in which Dusty Rhodes was seriously injured. We have those tapes released by the NWA. I think we're going to take a look at a portion of the tape right now.
Right now. There you see that match right there. It's the Russian. Nikita Koloff is in there against the World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair. There you see he is pounding away on Ric Flair. He has him. Snap Mary takes him over. Now, there you see it. The other Russians come in.
How many times have we seen this? How many times have we seen, and we saw them just a minute ago in a six-man tag, but how many times have we seen 2-on-1, 3-on-1 when the Russians try to get the advance? Crusher Khrushchev comes out. He shuts the cage. He makes sure no one comes in. But David, as you know, as disheartening as this was right here, it was only a prelude of some real wild things to come. Because right now, Ric Flair's in a lot of trouble.
That's right. But there's the man, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. He goes right after Crusher Khrushchev. Gets him out of the way. Now he comes in the ring to help Ric Flair. He goes in there.
Coming to the aid of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And you got to realize that Dusty Rhodes came in, you know, out of his own will. He decided that you know, maybe Flair needed some help, and he did need some help.
And he cleans house. Dusty Rhodes, there you see, he's got Ivan. He pounds away on Ivan.
Really working over Ivan Koloff and David. There he goes. Ivan says, I've had enough. All of them, they leave. And, you know, I mean, right there, Dusty Rhodes cleared house, and there they are, both men, the top two men in the world today. In that cage, Dusty Rhodes had just come to the aid of Ric Flair.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen that much, but there's a lot more.
There is a lot more. All of our fans, David, it's hard for me to conceive what transpired. What would you do if someone came into to rescue you, to help you? What would I do?
You know, it's happened to me. You know, Rick is Flair's come and he's helped me. All right, let's go back. Let's go back and watch this now.
Let's take a look, David. Exactly. We're going to see a portion of what we just saw. Now, Dusty has already come into the ring, and he's starting to, once again, as we have seen before, clean house, as only Dusty Rhodes can do. And I mean, take a look at what this man does. The determination, the absolute, you know, hatred he has for this Russian team. And he really just gets rid of them.
And like he said, there stands two of the top wrestlers, the two top wrestlers in the world.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, Nature Boy, Ric Flair. If you add together the number of matches they've won as singles, it's going to be a number that no two wrestlers will ever be able to reach in the history of professional wrestling. They've won more matches.
Yeah, at first it looked like Rick was reaching up to give his hands to Dusty, but now he starts to point that finger.
David, the cage swings open, and who comes in?
The Andersons, the cousins of Ric Flair. Look at him. Look at him start to pound away on Dusty.
It's an old cliche. I know that blood is thicker than water, but I guess even blood is thicker than friendship or even helping out your fellow man. But here's the most disappointing thing that I've seen.
Rick there locking the gate. You know, at first it looked like he was dazed, but he goes over there and locks the gate. Well, no one can get in.
When I was at ringside, I said, well, Flair maybe is trying to, you know, get out and get away from the situation because he's got a man who has helped him. He's got his cousins.
He even goes for help.
Yeah,
but he's not doing that.
He went and he locked the cage door. Now, meanwhile, the Andersons beating on Dusty. And look here.
Ric Flair starts to really pound away on Dusty. He starts to stomp on Dusty's legs.
Dusty obviously dazed, obviously stunned by what is going on. And then we haven't seen anything yet, fans. Take a close look at what you're about to see.
Rick is directing the Andersons to stretch that leg out. No, he says no. He wants it exactly in a position. Okay. Just one extra one. Now he goes up on that top rope.
Ric Flair's been in so many battles and has fought so many men. You know he knows exactly what to do every time he gets in the ring.
He's up there.
Oh, he knew what he was doing here, too.
Jumps right down on that ankle. Look at him, still stomping away.
Stomp it away, and David, we know what that means right there when he curls that leg around.
That's right. Ric Flair goes for that figure four, and there's more, Tony.
There is more, fans. Stay right with us. But all right,
Arn, this is maybe one of the most famous angles you were ever involved in. Is that fair to say?
The most.
Let's take a listen as the volume gets turned up when fans start to come in and the other baby faces.
Rick has that figure four on Dusty.
the figure four leg lock, the most famous move in wrestling that Ric Flair applies. And now here are the friends trying to get in.
That's right. Dusty has a lot of friends. The World Tag Team Champions, the Rock and Roll Express, Magnum TA, Terry Taylor, Sam Houston. They're all trying to climb over the fence to get in.
They can get in. That gate is locked. Now, Magnum right here looks
He's
like
trying to tear it off the hinges.
he is going to tear that gate off the hinges if need be to get in to help Dusty Rhodes. Still trying to get in. Still that figure four applied. Has been applied for a couple of minutes now. And here they finally get in.
That's right. And look at them pour in. And look at the Andersons. World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair. They try to get out now.
The Andersons trying to get out. They find that the door may be a little bit jammed right here, David. So what do? Again, they go back and try to make sure. They go after Magnum. They go after everybody. But the main thing, they want to go after Dusty. Dusty, as you can tell, David, laying in the center of the ring, and he is really in a lot of pain.
That's right. He's not moving a muscle. There you see. They got one last kick in before they leave.
There they go. I'm sure very happy about what they have done. Nature Boy Ric Flair, the World Heavyweight Champion, his cousins, the National Tag Team Champions, Ole and Arn Anderson, after inflicting all this injury, all this pain on Dusty Rhodes, they leave. And now, right now, everyone's in a state of shock.
So carry me through this. You leave the cage. There's been a lot written and said about what that was like, that it was a near riot. That's what's been reported. You were there. How much of that is just fishing tales and how much of that is real?
As real as it gets. What a multi-layered, sophisticated angle.
Yeah.
This was. So many guys were switching sides back and forth and playing out their own angle, playing out their own animosity towards each other. And if you start at the very beginning, you got Ric Flair in there with the Russians. Now, Ric Flair in that situation would have been the babyface.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russians already had an ongoing angle going with Dusty. So when Dusty came down, philosophically, if you think about it, maybe he was there to, further his own angle with the Russians. It wasn't so much about Rick that he was making the save on. Anyway, he cleared the ring out. Now you've got Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. It looks like things are going to be fine. I'm sure Rick at that moment in time, Nikita was about 285, Ivan about 260, and Barry Darsow 300 pounds. He was glad to get any help he could get at that particular point in time. So just when you think everything's copacetic and the angles, that's going to end right there, you do bring the Andersons down. Now, no better target in those days than Dusty Rhodes. You want to make an impression. You want to get everybody's attention. You want to get in the main events every single night. What do? You chap Dusty Rhodes' ass. Well, we slid in, Rick and myself and Ole had already been having some backstage conversations and, what about this and what about that? And we got your back, you got our back, and all these different things, conversations had already been brewing. So, when Ole and I jumped on Dusty, we saw an opportunity that no one was looking for. And Rick had a decision to make. It was a no-brainer. He went with family, and things got really, really, really nasty at that point in time. When Rick joined in and locked that cage and joined us on our attack, it was like people's heads, you could just see it. We're just spinning like, what in God's name am I seeing here? And when we were done, we thought, you brought some baby faces down. We tried to get out of that cage one time. The audience pushed forward and would not allow us to get out. So now we're in a situation where you're trapped in that cage and guys are coming down. And these are guys of mention, the Rock and Roll Express and some different guys and Magnum all coming down. And, you know, normally they would come in that door, run off the bad guys, and that's the end of it. But when those guys started getting knocked off the cage, things took a different tone.
Yeah.
On it, you know, the audience, you could almost see on their face, Conrad, it was like, oh God, nobody's going to save this guy. This is going to be, you know, we're witnessing something that's at a different level. Finally, we got the door open and got out there, and in the crowd, like I've said before, my hat's off to them. About 10 Atlanta police officers had to literally cut a path, a swath back to the locker room. And brother, they were knocking fans on their ass to create a way for us to walk. And it was the only real riot I've ever been in, as far as I was terrified.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Not in terms of, you know, I mean, I know in character, you're Arn Anderson, you're badass, but then there's the real life Marty Lundy, who sees all of a sudden real violence, not scripted, not guys who are professional, but crazed fans. And I was going to ask, was part of you like, I'm a little scared here. This is real. This is not part of the show. And you just said you were terrified. I can't imagine, you know, what that must be like, and that's really what makes wrestling great. You know, I was going to ask, and boy, I know in another era, you'd have just reached through the phone and slapped the taste out of my mouth, but there is a suspension of disbelief that we all look for in wrestling. We want to get lost in it. We want to live in this world, this alternate reality. What percentage of fans would you say were just stone cold believers here in October of 85?
If you had 30%, let's just say, that believed everything was 100% on the up and up.
Right.
And you've got 10,000 people.
That's 3,000 pissed off folks.
That's 3,000 people trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Now, thank God they were in areas of the arena that they couldn't get to us. Ours was, you know, what was 10 or 12 or however long it took to get us, however many minutes it took to get us to the locker room. That was a straight line that was being formed to get us back. Barricades were not what they used to be or what they are now. And, you know, security was not what it was. Thank God that was a big show and the Atlanta police were there. I'm telling you, Conrad, it'd be easy to throw my chest out and go, well, shit, you know, I kicked the shit out of 22 guys on the way back to the locker room. That's not so.
Right.
22 guys probably kicked the shit out of us.
Right.
All the way. And in those days, you know, it was towards the tail end of fans actually getting in the ring and stuff. And, you know, the business was trying to amp up security and all that stuff, but people were still getting cut. Batteries were getting thrown from the upper deck. You know, you didn't know, because we were having to literally fight for our life, stop, catch our breath for just a second, regroup, and here we would go again. You didn't know if a guy's going to, you know, reach through there and stick a knife in you. Could have very easily happened. There were plenty of instances of that kind of stuff. There were no metal detectors or any of that trying to get in the building. It was as real can be. And I'm telling you something, man, I was scared to death. And when we finally got to the locker room and we're looking around, assessing each other and seeing who was hurt and how bad and all that, we're all bleeding. Everybody had their head split. You know, there was, you know, fingernail marks down people's back where they had just reached out trying to grab you and scratch the shit out of you. It was one of those deals. And we looked at each other, and it wasn't one of those, goddamn, what an angle. It was wide-eyed. Man, we almost died.
Yeah.
That was the consensus. And that's a feeling I haven't had before or had since. And it was just but it was an angle that launched so many angles within Jim Crockett Promotions. What a bonfire flamed up from that.
It's going to be one of the biggest, brightest spots in wrestling history. You know, the infamous promo, and I'm sure we're going to get to that as we build towards Starrcade. But Hard Times was born out of that.